right? And the last three topics of Excel, if I'm not mistaken, we covered Power Query, you covered Power Pivots, and you covered pivot table, right? Am I with us? Can you hear me? We covered these last three topics in Excel, right? Yes. Okay, I can see yes, yes, yes. Okay, that's good. So it's important to note that before we start on to doing things in Power BI, let's at least know an history of Power BI. Why did Power BI start? How did Power BI start? And why did Microsoft release a tool called Power BI? So the truth is, Power BI itself kind of started from Excel. So the whole story of Power BI came together from Excel. So Microsoft first started thinking of Power BI when they introduced Power Pivot and Power Query, these two powerful tools in Excel that can allow you to, number one, bring in data and can allow you to connect to more than one table in Excel. So once Microsoft introduced these two tools, they were also thinking, you know what? You know, you can do visualization in Excel. You can do your reporting, some level of reporting and analysis in Excel. But Microsoft wanted to build a standalone tool which will be very, very good to create powerful visualization, and it will be easy to share reports to every single person that you want to share with. And you can set specific securities on access or to that particular report that you have. So in 2010, Microsoft introduced these tools. 2010 or 2009, Microsoft introduced Power Query and Power Pivot. Pivot table was introduced, I think, as far back as like 1995. Yes. So in 2015, Microsoft now decided that, you know what, let's combine these tools. Microsoft combined Power Query, Power Pivot, and they added a language called DAX, Data Analysis for Expression. You use some of it in Power Pivot. I'm sure you must have used that, but they added it together and they added sharing capabilities to produce the products we know as Power BI. So without wasting much of our time, what is Microsoft Power BI and what can Power BI do for us? So right now I have a screen, I have a report generated on my screen, which was created with Power BI. So can you see my screen, everybody? Can we all see my screen? So let me check your reaction.
I can see your screen. Please, if you can see your screen, kindly send an emoji so that we can know maybe you can see it or not, or drop it in the chat box that I can see your screen. Thank you very much. I can see your screen, Joseph.
Okay, thank you very much, Bisola. Okay, so this is a simple report created with Power BI, a simple, very, very simple report created I think was it last year, sometime last year with Power BI. And this, I'm just going to prepare our mind to what we will be able to do in learning this Power BI tool and learning this session. So we can see this dynamic chart, which is showing like a video playing at the background. We can see these cards updating as we go. You have a simple guide sheet, which tells you more about your visualization. You have a customer overview, which tells you more about your customer, right? You can check. And when you select any of this slicer, it changes the filter context of the report. If you go into the graph, into the map that you have right here on my screen, you can see more information about that customer based on the location on my screen. So this is something simple that was created in Power BI. You have your product analysis page. This is a simple chart showing a comparison between previous and actual value. So a simple chart created with this. And you have all these cards nicely arranged to provide simple information to the user. So this is just me whetting our appetite into what we can possibly use this to do. And I believe by the end of this session, we should be able to build way better visualization than this, way more exciting and interesting visualization than this. Who is excited for that, or who would like to learn how to build this? Okay, so I can see lots of thumbs up, lots of likes. Yes, we'll be able to do this ourselves. We'll be able to do way more than this ourselves by the time we're done with the whole Power BI. But before we can do this, we need to understand certain things about Power BI. So today's session is an introduction to Power BI. We will learn general concepts of Power BI. We'll learn the parts of Power BI which we have, and we'll learn the things. Oh, somebody said my screen is not clear. Kindly confirm, is it only from that person? Uh, is my screen
I
clear?
think it's the person. No, your screen is clear. I think it's the person's network.
Okay, thank you very
Wait.
much. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for that, Busola. So before we go ahead, we need to learn certain things about Power BI before we go ahead to build this visualization which we want. So Power BI is a business intelligence tool that can allow you to achieve more with your data by coming up with powerful visualization and telling interesting and insightful stories about your data. So that is what Power BI is. Before I go ahead, how many of us have Power BI desktop installed on our system? I believe we should all have that installed on our system. Do we have that installed? You can just give a reaction, a thumbs up. Okay, I can see I have. Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you for the you do not have it. So please, if you do not have it, you can always get Power BI from the Microsoft Store. So if you are using a Windows PC, you can always go to the Microsoft Store, search for Power BI Desktop, and you will be able to download it as well. So I can just search for Power BI Desktop. And the moment I search for Power BI Desktop, I can click on this and you'll be able to install. It's showing open for my end because I have Power BI already installed on my local machine. If you don't, it will tell you to install Power BI. So you can do that. So that's simple for you to do. So if you don't have it, you can quickly install it. So I'll be getting us started with the user interface. So it's important to note that there are three parts of Power BI. You have a Power BI desktop, Power BI service, and Power BI mobile. Can we type in the chat what I said? How many parts of Power BI Do we have? So just to ensure we are following, how many parts of Power BI do we have? Yeah, just type it in the chat. Type the three parts in the chat. Yeah, I know it's three. I mentioned the three. Mobile, desktop, and okay, mobile, desktop, and service. Excellent, excellent. So it looks like we're following, right? So, so these three parts, Power BI desktop is for development. It's more of your development tool. While your service and mobile is more for the service is more for sharing, and the mobile is more for consuming. So you can consume reports on your Power BI mobile. You can get Power BI mobile on your Play Store. You can get Power BI mobile on your Play Store. It will ask you to sign into your work or school account. So that is not for building visualization. but it is for actually digesting reports. Okay, so somebody said I should go back again. We have three parts: Power BI desktop, Power BI mobile, and Power BI service. These are the three core parts of Power BI as a tool. Our Power BI started around 2015 because Microsoft discovered that they needed to build a standalone visualization tool that can help people create powerful business intelligence reports and dashboards. So without wasting further of our time, let's open Power BI Desktop. So Power BI Desktop is normally your starting point of contact when you are dealing with Power BI. So you have Power BI Desktop. This is where you can develop your Power BI architecture and build out your reports. So first things first, before we go ahead, do we have the same interface on my screen? Is this how your Power BI look on my screen? Exactly like this. So the reason why I'm being, so let me, so do you have these tabs? Do you have these tabs up here in this fashion? Is it like this? Do you have this section like this or your Power BI? Do you have this section like this on your Power BI? So let me see. Okay, I can see yes, I can see no, I can see yes. Okay, so the very first thing you need to know about the Power BI interface is you have three views by default on your Power BI interface. You have your report view. This is where you build out your reports, your visualization. You have your report view. This section on my screen, this section on my screen, this section on my screen. This is where you have this section on my screen. This is what I'm talking about. So this is your report view, your report tab, which is what we have right here. This is where you build out your visualization, you build out your report and your analysis. You have your table view. So this is where you can see the data that has been loaded into your Power BI. You can just have a look at the data you brought into your Power BI. So you have your table view. You have another view called your model view by default. This is where you do your data modeling. I'm sure we've been introduced a bit into data modeling in Excel. There's data modeling in Power BI. It still follows the same concept in Excel, but there are things you need to know in a more broader level in Power BI. So that will be covered in subsequent session. And you have your report view, your table view, and your model view. So these are your three default views you have in Power BI. How many of us have something called DAX query view? Do you have this view on your Power BI?
Most people are saying no.
Okay. Okay. So it's actually to be expected. Yes, but I can see there are some of us that have been using Power BI for a while in the chat as well. So yes, by default, you wouldn't have that view turned on in your Power BI. Yes, so I will show us how to get that included in your Power BI. What this DAX query view, it's kind of new, not really too new. It was introduced around late 2023 in a way for you to test out your expression. So you write formula language in Power BI, just like how you write your simple formulas in Excel. but the formula language you write in Power BI is normally your DAX, your data analysis expression. You write it in Power BI. But if you want to see the output of your result, your DAX query view can allow you to check this out. So I'll show us how to turn this on, but I'm still introducing us to the general interface of Power BI. For those who are starting and for those who may have used Power BI before, but you've probably missed out on certain things, the best way to learn is by unlearning, learning, and relearning. So that way the concept can stick to your head clearly. Hope I'm not going too fast. Hope you can hear me clearly and hope I'm making sense. Hope you can hear me clearly. Can you hear me clearly? Am I?
Yes. Just we can hear you clearly. Your speed is normal. Please
Okay.
reply with emoji. Please, more of emoji than dropping your chat in the dropping chat in the
No,
chat box. Please.
they can do both. They can do both, but
All
they
right.
can do both. But yeah,
Okay.
thanks. So I like the feedback I'm getting. So yes,
All right.
somebody said I should zoom in my screen more. I want to confirm, is it clear for all or is it just a one person issue? Is it the same issue for all? Can you see my screen clearly? I still need to zoom in.
Hello, everybody. Can you see his screen clearly, or should he zoom very well so that you can see very well? Okay, I think they are replying that is okay. They can see your screen.
Okay. Okay, so you have your ribbon. So just like in Excel, in Word, in PowerPoint, in Microsoft tools, general, these top icons are called your ribbon. Your ribbon, your tabs, there are various names people call them, your tabs, your ribbon. So this in these tabs, you have specific things you can do in each tabs. Your home tab is your starting point where you can bring in data, which you have your get data, just like you have get data in Excel. I will show us a little bit of that in today's session. You can bring in data from an Excel workbook. These are just some of the sources that are already predefined in Power BI, which you can easily bring in data. You have enter data. If you want to enter data into Power BI itself, you can use this tool, enter data in Power BI. You have something called Dataverse. This is for people who are familiar with the Power Platform. Power Platform is a low code slash no code tool. We're not talking about the Power Platform today, but it's just good we have general understanding of what it is. It's like the database for your Power Platform products. We have recent sources. This keeps the tabs of all the sources that we brought in data from. And we have transformed data. So this takes us into Power Query editor. So Power Query editor, this can take us to Power Query directly. And this big section on my screen, which you have here, is called the canvas. So this is where you bring in your visualization into Power BI, your canvas. It's called your canvas in Power BI. Then you also have a section here called your filters tab. If you want to add filters, so filters, not slicers. If you want to add filters to your report, you can add it to this section, but you can also bring in slicers itself. So slicers, I'm sure we must have been told in Excel that slicers are a lot more better to some extent than filters, and there are a whole lot of things you can do with slicers with slicers. The same thing apply for with Power BI. So if you are new to Power BI, if you are coming from an Excel background, I want this session, our Power BI training is going to be as easy as possible for you to integrate the knowledge you've learned from Excel into Power BI. And if you've been using Power BI for some time, my best bet for you is to unlearn what you've learned and come into class to learn something new. So we also have this build a visual section on my screen. This is where you can build in simple report and analysis on your screen. You can drag in your visualization into your tab, and you have some sections on my screen called your data tab, your sources tab, and you have your format tab. You wouldn't have this section on your screen by default. And let me show us how we can be on the same page in our Power BI, learning journey. So right now, I want us to come to the file tab. So this is your home tab. I've not yet talked about the insert, modeling, view, optimize, and help. But let's come to our file tab. So if you click on your file tab in your Power BI desktop, you have this section on my screen, which is kind of similar to what you have on your other Microsoft tools and services. Your home, your open, your save, save as, share, get data, import, export, and you have sign out, and you have something which is very, very valuable, which I call options and settings. So if you click on these options and settings, you have something called data source setting. This will be taught in a more granular level when we do Power Query. It will be taught there. But you have options. So I'm just introducing us to general concepts right now. We have options. So you can click on your options tab. The moment you've clicked on your options tab, you have this icon on my screen. I would say it's a bit similar to what you have on Excel, but different. It's different in the sense of the things you do on the option in Power BI is different from the things you do on the option in Excel. The same way it's different from the things you do on the option in Word, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft tools and services. So right here, we have a data load option. We're not covering this right now. So this will be covered in subsequent session. This is a more advanced section. You don't need to change anything here. As of now, you don't need to change or touch anything in this tab. You have the Power Query Editor option. So this option allows you to turn on and turn off specific elements of your Power Query. The default option is good. So what you have on your Power Query or on your Power BI by default is good already. So don't change anything here. The same goes for this direct query, this house scripting, this Python scripting, security, and this other tab. So I know you asked me, what does this R scripting and Python scripting mean? In Power BI itself, you can already do, if you are coming from a Python background, you are coming from an R background, these are programming language, you can build out Python visualization in Power BI itself, and you can build out our visualization in Power BI itself. You can do all this in Power BI as well. There's also Python in Excel right now, which you can do some things in Excel, but you need an Office 365 license, and you need to be using a modern Excel to utilize it. So that's just by the way. You have securities. The default setting for this, like I said, is all well and good. You don't need to change it. The only section you may need to turn on is this ACGIS for Power BI. You may need to turn it on. What this is these are map visuals. So if you want to use your map, you can turn this element on. Right now, it's just a general introduction, so you don't need to turn this section on. The same goes with all these your other sections which we have here. Your update section, you don't need to touch that. What I need you to come into is the preview features. So how many of us are on the preview features in our Power BI? How many of us are on the preview features? Okay. Okay, so I can see a whole lot of us are on preview features. So by default, Microsoft, and not just Microsoft, other technology providers and service provider does the same thing as well. By default, they do not release all their features to the general public immediately. They first release it as preview, trial, so certain people can try it out before they say, okay, this thing is good, is a good idea. Let's make it a compulsory feature into the software or the application. So these preview features allows you to test and to utilize Microsoft new features in all their tools and services. So in Power BI, in this case, Power BI, the preview features allows you to test most of the new updates to the Power BI, which you have already. So under these preview features, there are a whole lot. You can click on the ones you feel will be important to you. Me, I click on all because I like testing out softwares and services and products. If you are somebody like me, you can do that as well. Uh, to have that view, which I have on my screen, you can click on this on object interaction. So this makes your Power BI to kind of look like what my Power BI have. Don't close it yet. You can check this. You can also check DAX query view. You can check it. You can check button slicer visual. You can check it. If you know you'll be utilizing all of these features, I advise you can check them all. You can check them all if you'll be utilizing all of these features. You can read a little bit about it and learn what they do. There's a learn more section, so you can learn what they do before you check it on or turn it off. But the ones I would advise you to turn on because they are very useful is on object interaction, your button slicer, DAX query view, and you can have this measure description with Copilot and visual calculation. You can turn this section on. The moment you turn it on and you click on OK, tell me what's pop up that it tells you on your screen. What is the message you get on your screen once you click on OK? Close your, exactly. So you close your Power BI. It will tell you to restart your Power BI. So you will close your Power BI if you don't have any Power BI file open. If you have a Power BI file open, I'll say you should save it first. Then you close it. Then you can open your Power BI. You can't see measure Copilot. Don't worry about it. It could be one or two things, either the version of your Power BI, or it could also be because you don't have that turned on in the service aspect of Power BI. Yeah, so you can just turn it on. We're not even going to be touching that now. We won't be touching it now, but you can turn on the features that the on object interaction, DAX query view, and button slicer. So turn it on and new card visual. The moment you have done that, you can click on OK, and it will ask you to restart your system and you'll be able to go. Now, just a recap, because I can see some people, network issues, one issue or the other. What we just did right now is to ensure that we all have the same look and feel with our Power BI. So when I'm doing something, it's not like, oh, how is it doing this thing? Oh, why is it doing this thing? We have the same look and feel with our Power BI. So if you come to your file tab, for those who weren't available before, come to your options and settings, go to your options tab, you will see a section called preview features. Preview features. My own advice is if you like testing technologies and services, you can turn them all on. If you are a more cautious person, you can read about what each and every one of these tools do before you turn them on. That is probably the safer bet. And you can click on OK there, or you can click on OK, and that will tell you to close your Power BI file. So that's very much has been established. So how many of us have this new look on our Power BI? Is your Power BI now similar to what I have here on my screen after you've done that? Okay, so it's also important to know the recording will be shared. I like people to practice at the session, but the recording will be shared as well. So you can always try out things as well after the session. But it's this so far we've just been doing like a introduction to Power BI, its service and its tools, uh, and what it can do. Okay, so right now I've introduced us to the Canvas section, the report view, the table view, the model view. You have the Dash query view. You should have this view right now. And right now you have the Insert tab. So this Insert tab, it allows you to bring in more visuals. It allows you to bring in AI type of visuals. So we have like 3 core. It's actually 4. The Q&A visual, your key influencer visual, decomposition tree, and narrative visuals. These visuals have AI element embedded in them. They can allow you to do some nice AI analysis based on your data. Then you also have something called Power Platform. So Power Platform is have something that part of Power BI, but I didn't want to really separate it from the normal part of Power BI. So what paginated report is, this is like a different tool, but it is still part of Power BI. It's called Power BI paginated report. It allows you to build all this type of X picture perfect, pixel perfect report. So if your report, you want your report to be like in an in a table, nice table format, the way just like how you have your Excel type report, this paginated report tool can allow you to build that. It's nice to know the knowledge of that, but it's nice to know the knowledge of that, but I'm not covering that today. I'm not covering that today, but it's just a general introduction to that. You have something called Power Apps. So Power BI is part of a tool and services which I call the Power Platform. What the Power Platform does is a low slash no code tool that allows you to build business application, build automation, build AI, build business intelligence analysis, and also build your own low-code website. So the Power Platform is that type of suite and services. Power BI is also part of another tool and services which we call Microsoft Fabric. That's also a different conversation for a different day. But it's to tell you how powerful Power BI is. So Power BI is embedded in a whole lot of Microsoft platforms and Microsoft tools and services. So what this Power Apps does is you can build Power BI based on data in your Power Apps. You can build Power BI from data that you get from your automation. So Power Automate allows you to automate lots of repetitive process. So if you're the type that does something over and over again, Power Automate can help you with that to solve it. Then you can bring in your text box, your buttons, your shapes, your images in this Power BI interface. So that's what this insert does. So just like you have insert in Excel, your insert in Power BI can allow you to do all of this thing. Then you have your modeling tab. So your modeling tab uh, allows you to check your relationships which you've created in your Power BI, create measures, create something called calculated columns. This topic will be covered in more in depth when we are touching the dark section of Power BI. Create tables, calculated tables. You can create calculated tables in Power BI. Create something called parameters. So if you have what if scenario, what if the price of fuel increased by 20%, increased by 30%? These your parameters can allow you to create that type of calculation in Power BI. And you have another section of language, linguistic schema as well in Power BI. Now, we also have the view tab. So this just allows you to see themes. So themes are good in your Power BI. If you want to set a default theme for all your reports, you can set it here. If you want to bring in a custom theme, if you have some probably advanced knowledge in maybe yeah, you have HTML knowledge, JavaScript knowledge, you can bring in a custom theme into your Power BI as well. That's a more advanced approach to it. And it allows you to also check performance analyzer. So this allows you to check how your Power BI is performing based on certain metric, how your calculations are performing, how your visual is loading, how your tabs are working in Power BI. Then you have a section for sync slicers. This will be talked more when we go into the reporting aspect of it. And you now have this optimize tab, which allows you to focus on optimizing your report so that your end user can digest the content they need to digest in a more user-friendly approach. So these are the things you can do under the optimize section. Now, how can we get started? What can we use to help ourselves? We have guided learning. So if you want to learn, there's this section of Power BI already on your screen. Guided learning, you have training videos, you have the documentation for Power BI, you have support, you have Power BI blog, you have the community. So communities are nice because like Datakliq community, it helps individuals to grow, learn as a collective, share ideas. You can submit an idea. You thought of something nice in Power BI, you think they can implement. Microsoft collects feedback from people and they implement it, giving the votes they receive on that feedback. If you want to see examples of reports somebody has created before, you can have that in by clicking on this sample report, sample data set. If you want to even know, okay, I want to practice with Power BI, where can I get data set? This can even show you this. And you also have a section called consulting services as well. Okay, so right now we've done an introduction into Power BI desktop, Power BI desktop. In subsequent sessions, we'll do Power BI service. That'll be probably at the tail end of the training. But right now, I want us to have like a recap of what have been said so far. It's just a mini recap of what have been said so far. So how many tabs do we have by default in Power BI? I just want to be sure we are following. How many tabs do we have by default in Power BI? Okay, so three, we are following. So we have the reports, the table, and your model tab, right? Okay, so under the insert tab, right? Under the insert tab, uh, what did I say the key influencer is? Okay, the answer is staring us in the face. You have is an AI visual, right? Okay. Okay, so thank you. I can see we are following, and that's all well and good. So people are saying they don't have as much tabs as what I showed on my screen, which that is fine. If you don't have as much, it's fine and good. I'll just suggest you can check the version of your Power BI under your About tab. I currently have 2024 February version of Power BI. I think if you have 2024 February version of Power BI, you may most likely have all of these tabs which I showed earlier or more. If you have a work and developer account, it should easily show all of those options as well. Okay, so right now, I want us to remember the data analysis process. Esther took this during our first session. So in the data analysis process, what is the key thing or what's the first step of data analysis process? Like, what's the first thing that you think needs to be done for you to analyze data?
Joseph, check the chat. They are replying back there.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So know your problem, data cleaning, problem analysis, data import. Okay, so somebody asks, is it possible to update your Power BI? Yes, it's very possible. If you go to your Microsoft Store, you can just search for it. If your version is outdated, you'll see the update button. You can update that. Study your data collection. Okay, so the question is quite interesting because I can see a divergence of opinion, but I also like the way all of us are thinking. Yes, ideally, the first step is to collect. The first step is to so let me see, know your objective, identify the problem, and data collection. So the first step, to summarize, no, you don't need uh yeah, the update is free. The update is totally free. You don't need internet to use Power BI desktop. But for Power BI service and to use some visuals actually require you to use internet to use them. That's some visuals in Power BI. So you have to note that already. But to utilize Power BI desktop, you don't need internet to utilize it. So I can see this data exploration. So by default, the first step is normally like your extraction of data collection. After you've identified the problem, right, you collect the data. The data is normally collected from somewhere. Where is your data stored? A particular location. Now, after you collect your data needs to be what? Transformed, right? Transformed. After your data is transformed, your data needs to be modeled. After your data is modeled, you now need to build calculations. After you've built your calculations, you will do visualization. Then you now have to think of how you to share your visuals and build out automations based on your data. So I'll be telling us 7 core steps, 7 core pillars of Power BI as we call it. So it's 7 core pillars of Power BI. I'll drop them in the chat. 7 core pillars of Power BI. So please, let's take note of this. It's very, very important. So the first one is extraction of your data. Then you have your transformation, modeling, calculations, visualization, and you have distribution or sharing, as they call it, distribution or sharing. Then you have your automation. So automation. So these are like the 7 core things you'll be doing in Power BI. So first, extracting your data, transforming your data, modeling it, performing calculations for your data, then visualizing your data, distributing it, and having your automations. So thank you for that, Busula. So the first thing I will ask us, how can we bring in data into Power BI? Given our knowledge of Excel, we've done something in Excel, right? How can we bring in data into Power BI? Okay, so I can see get data, okay, get data. Excellent. So just like in Excel, how you would click in Excel, click on get data, right? I want to ask, for those of us that normally pay attention, is there a difference in the number of stuff you can see in Excel get data from what you can see in Power BI get data? Is there a difference or is it the same? Okay. Okay. So I can see yes, it's different, not the same. Yes, they are more in Power BI. And you know what? So just to test out the hypothesis, let's go into Excel itself. So come to your data tab, get data. What do we see here? And we see my tab here. So yes, in Power BI actually connects to way more sources than it does in Excel. It has more connectors than you have in Excel. Though with Excel, you can also do some nice connection, which I don't know if we did it. You can get data from a picture in Excel. I don't know if we did that, but you need to have a Microsoft 365 license. It's just a simple process. If you have data as a picture, you can just get data from that picture and you will see it. I don't know how many of us want to actually see that right now. Do we want to see that, or I should just skip it over? So how to get data from Excel from a picture? Okay. Okay, so the process is quite easy if you are using Microsoft 365. If you have that, it's quite easy. So let me just search for a table, right? I'll just click on let me be more specific, data table, or just a information that I can see on like a table, right? So I can just come to this my images right here. Let's take this for example. I can just come to this image right here. I like what I see here. I can do Windows Shift S, take a screenshot of this data like this. That's with my screenshot tab. Come into my Excel, go to my data tab and click on from pictures, pictures for my clipboard. Clipboard is based on screenshots. If you have the picture on your device already, it would work the same way. And can you see this right here on my screen? Can see this data from picture. Excel already looks through your data and helps you to identify the necessary information there. If you are fine with it, you can insert it. If you want to change some things, you can edit it before you even bring in the data. So if you want to cross-check, oh, is it bringing in the right information, you can always edit it, and we can click on insert data. You are responsible for validating the accuracy of all the data, yes. And the moment we do that, we brought in this information into our screen from a picture. Did you see how easy and nice that was? That was really, really easy, right? It's it was easy to do. So if you have any picture anywhere, and you need to, I see people do spend time typing out information where they can just take. And the thing is, if you have Excel on your phone, you can even take a picture of it on Excel on your phone, and you can bring in the necessary information into your spreadsheet. So I see people typing out this information for days, for weeks. There's even a funny situation of how they hired a couple of people to type something which Excel can get to in 5 seconds. So good old Excel is good. But like we can see with Power BI, you can actually even connect to way more sources as well. And you can connect to some of the sources that are already in Excel, and you can connect to way more already in Power BI. Somebody said I should demonstrate again. The process is just easy. Just take a screenshot of what you want. Windows Shift S. Take a screenshot of the table you want. It's good to take a nice screenshot of the edges, so it's nice and neat. Uh, or you can take a picture of its actual picture. Go to your data tab, from picture, then picture from clipboard. If your picture is in a file already in Excel, you can do that already. If it's in a file in your system, you can click on from file. If it's not in your system, you can click on picture from clipboard. It will analyze your data for you and you can just insert it. If you are fine with the result, you can just insert it already. So give you a warning, you are responsible for validating the information. Yes, I am. Then you insert it. And all those simple steps, you brought in the data from the picture into Power BI. Right. Okay. So we can do this in we can do this in Excel, which is nice and neat, right? With Power BI, we have a whole lot of sources. So it's Power BI we are on. So please come back to my Power BI screen. Yeah, I just said, let me drop a few tips and tricks for us in Excel. Well, okay. So don't worry, I will attend to you, Sisima. Don't worry, I will attend to you later, Sisima. But just to get us going, we have data sources. So data sources, this is where your file, your data is located. Your data can be located in an Excel workbook, which we've been used to bringing in data. If your data is in like an Excel workbook, you can bring in data from it. If it's in a Power BI semantic model, this means if your data is already in Power BI service, you can connect to that data and build more reports based on that data. You can build data based on data flows. So data flows is like Power Query in the web. So these data flows, you get to use them more in Power BI service. So if you want to connect to Power BI in the web, you can use data flow. You have Dataverse. So Dataverse is your database for, like I said, your database for your Power Platform apps and services. Then you have SQL Server. If your data is in an SQL database, if it's in Postgres, MySQL, or SSMS, you can bring in your data into Power BI itself. Analysis services, web. If your data is in the web, this is something most people do not know. I'll show us probably a practical example. If your data is in the web, you can just bring in your data into Power BI itself. And if you click on more, you can see the further breakdown of all these services as well. You have all. So this is all of the sources, just some of the core sources. You have files. So what are files? You have Excel, text, CSV, XML, JSON. So JSON is like a semi-structured type of file. If your data is in a folder, you can connect to it with Power BI. If your data is in a PDF, how many of us wants to see this? If your data is in a PDF, you can easily connect to it and bring it into Power BI. If it's in a packet file, so this deals with more with Microsoft Fabric. That's a more advanced topic which we won't be talking about right now, but it's good to know about it. So Parquet is like a form of data storage in Fabric as well. If your data is in a SharePoint folder, you can connect to it as well. So databases, right here, you can see the different databases you can connect your Power BI to. If it's SQL, if it's IBM, if it's MySQL, all the databases which you have here, you can connect to it. Microsoft Fabric. Microsoft Fabric is basically a platform that allows data engineers, data scientists, data analysts to work together to achieve a common goal. So that's what Microsoft Fabric is in short and good. Then you have Power Platform, which I've explained earlier. If it's in Azure, Azure is a cloud storage by Microsoft. You can bring your data into it. If it's in online services, so there are lots of other online services. So you can scroll down to see the online. You have LinkedIn sales, you have SharePoints, you have a whole lot of this. You have Google Analytics. So if your data is in those services, you can bring it in and connect to it with your Power BI. Then you also have other sources as well. You have web and all these other sources. So the first things first, we're just going to do slight Power Query. So just to get us properly introduced and gelled with Power Query in Power BI. tomorrow's session will focus more on Power Query in Power BI and some things to do with Power Query in Power BI. So right now I'm going to select web, but before I select web, let me have a website or a location of information I want to bring data from. So let me just check for world population, right? I think that's a good enough link. So world population, let's have it on. This is Chrome, right? So I can copy this link. When you want to get data from the web, it's important that the website is a publicly accessible site as well. So it's good to know that. If not, sometimes it may require you to sign in to verify that you can be able to access that information you want to access. So right now I've copied the website link. This world population, it just gives data about the world population. Let me go to Power BI, get data, and I'm going to select from web. I know we are used to Excel workbook already, so let me select from web so we see something new. I'll paste my URL here and let me click on OK. Can you see this? Okay, so right now you can see these are the type of sign-in options I have. I have anonymous because it's a publicly accessible site. I can sign in via anonymous routes. I can use organization accounts if it's like a more private website or setting. I can use my organization account to sign in. But right now I'm going to click on anonymous because I don't need it. It's a publicly accessible site, and I can click on connect. So can you see this on my screen right now? So the moment I click on connect, before I go ahead, I want to be sure, are we following? Are we following me? How many of us are following? If you are following, just type yes in the chat. Yes in the chat. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. So just to do a recap so that for people who may have missed out on it a bit, I copied this URL. I just went to Google and typed world population. There's on Wikipedia, there's information about the world population on Wikipedia directly. You can copy the URL by using Ctrl+C on your keyboard. How I'm switching between tabs is a nice shortcut. If you do Alt-Tab, Alt-Tab takes you and return you back to your previous location on your system. So with that, I now click on get data and I go to from web. So this get data from a website. I paste the URL here. And the moment I've done that, I can click on OK. So it doesn't have to be world population. Basically, a website of your choice that you have data in a particular format, in a structured format, like a table, you can pull in that information with your Power Query in. So right now you have these tabs on my screen. So if I want to take a peek at the data I'm seeing, I can just click on this. You have a table view. So this shows how the table looks. I can scroll. Is this the data I want? This is not the data I want. I can take a peek at it, take a peek at this as well. It's also good if you know the information you're already going to, you can just select it directly. Uh, if you want to bring in all of them, you can actually select all. You can actually do that. But I'm not interested in bringing in all. Let me pick current world population, population by region 2020, 10 most populous country. Let me just bring this in. Bring this in. Okay, would I need this? Let's go. No, I don't need this. So I can bring in this as well. I'm just selecting the data I want to bring in. And okay. So I can just select this ones. I don't need this data as well. And the moment I'm good with the data, so I want to ask us at this point, right? At this point of this level of information I've selected, what do I need to do next? Like a recap, we've done a bit of Power Query before, but what do I need to do next at this point? Let me see my people in the chat. Yeah, there's a technique to bring all at the same time. You can actually select all. So you can select all by default. If you hold your shift key, you can easily select all. Let's say this, and I drag it down to this. So with my shift key, I can easily select all if I want to bring in all. But if I don't want to bring in all, I just select it. So world population, current world population, there must pop this, and this, right? Okay, so I was asking, what do we need to do? I can see transform data. I can see transform data. Okay, I want to ask us, why not load? Why are we doing transform data? And right now, I want to call somebody because I've been doing a lot of talking so far, but I want to hear from somebody right now. Fadiat, right? I think Fadiat hand is up. I want to hear from you. Why are we transforming, not loading? So can you unmute Fadiat, Busola?
I have done that. I have given her my permission so she can mute herself. Fadilat. Please unmute yourself. Hello, Fadilat.
Hello.
All right. Good afternoon.
Okay, Fadilat Bello.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, please, the question again.
So I said, why I can see a lot of transform in the chat. But before I ask you, what should I do next? Before I state that, what should I do next? Right now on my screen. So people are saying I should do transform. I have the load button here. What do you feel I should do?
I think it's the transformation.
Okay, why is that?
I think that's the second thing. I don't know, according to what the 7 pillars you gave us. After the extraction, they will transform the data. Sorry about that. Sorry.
Okay.
Hello?
No,
Okay.
not a problem. I can hear you. So I want to thank you for that, your response. I like that.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to hear from somebody, right? So I know this person, maybe Pelumi or Folonsha would have mentioned it before, but it's good that we know why we do certain things, not just, oh, we do it. It's not a recording, it's not a program. A program, yes, we must do this because people at Datakliq told you to do this. So I want somebody to tell me, why should we transform? And is it in all cases we transform? So I just need one answer. So I can see a lot of volunteers. Oh, okay. So let me hear from Prince.
Prince
Hello.
Dokun.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can hear you.
All right, so the essence why we need to transform data gives us when we click on transform data, it gives us the ability to be able to do a lot of manipulation with the data in terms of data cleaning, in terms of to ensure that the data is in the right format for us to go ahead to use. Because if we don't work with, so we need to basically just ensure that the data is in the right format, and to be able to ensure that the data is also in the cleaned where necessary, so that before we can go ahead and use it.
Okay, so I think I like that your response, so that we avoid assuming, right? Because the key thing is, especially in the data world, assumption is dangerous, and assumption can lead you, 1 0 at the back of at the back of 6 zeros, it's a lot of money already. Or at the back of 7 zeros, it's a lot of money. So assumption that, oh, this thing is correct in the data world can lead to dangerous consequences. So as much as possible, it's always normally best, unless if you are the one that prepare the data yourself, right? You prepare the data yourself and you say, oh, this is how the data is. You properly structure the data yourself. It's normally best you transform your data. So one is to check the quality of data, like you rightfully stated. Also to ensure that you remove all unnecessary elements in the data that can skew or misinterpret your reports or your results. So yes, transform data is the right option to use. It's just a simple data, to be honest. We have this information about the world, certain information about the world, okay, on my screen, and you can see the information. So I can see one of these tabs, right? I'm just testing what we've learned so far. We've learned a bit of this before. I want to ask us, is there anything wrong with this data as it is? Like, if we load this data in, can we just load this data in directly as it is? And we will probably be able to do a lot of meaningful analysis with it. Okay, I can see no. So what's the problem? Excellent point. So we need, somebody stated we need to use the first row as headers. Yes, because like this, we can simply see an error in the transformation step. So we can just quickly, under the transform step, we can do something called use first row as headers, right? Use first rows as headers. So that's something, it shows that we are actually paying attention, and we actually listen to some of the things which was taught during the Excel course. So before we round it up, so this data is nice and neat. Is okay. We can use first row as header in a lot of tabs, and the moment we are done with our analysis, with our cleaning up, to be honest, this data doesn't really have much of an information which I would like to use. But if you want to use something, you can probably use it. Use first rows as headers. There's a transformation step that we recommend. I normally recommend when you see yes in this type of column, especially when you're preparing your data. I don't know if we were told this before. But when you're preparing your data and you have yes in separate columns like this, for data preparation, not reporting. So it's important we know that the data was prepared as a report like data. It was as a report like data, but for preparation, data preparation and not reporting, it's always best to have your years as a single column. and have the respective values probably beside it. That's for data preparation, not reporting. There's difference between reporting. You're reporting on the yearly value, like this. This is a nice format for reporting, but for data preparation, it's good to like have your years as single column, then you have your value by the side. And to do that, what transformation process would I need to do? I can see lots of sharp people in the class. I can see on pivots, on pivoting. Yes, so you need to unpivot. But before I unpivot, I want to ask us a question. If I unpivot this data right now, before I unpivot this data, what step would you advise me to do before I unpivot this data to get useful results or useful information? So the key thing in data analysis is thinking through the problem. We don't always tell you, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Thinking and analysis is the key towards preparing your data. Somebody said change type, and change type, that's, should I say that's well and good, but not change type. Look at this data, for example, right? There's still something wrong with this data. I need somebody that can spot it, has a knack for detail, that can spot what is wrong. Oh, thank you, Fola. I wish I had called the price before Fola answered it. Before Fola answered it, but thank you, Fola. Maybe I'll keep my price for other session. But thank you very much, Fola. Yes. So Fola said remove the last row. Exactly. I think I like that option. So remove the last row. So I'm sure, how can we go ahead to remove last row? We know before we do promote, use first row as headers, right? But to remove last row, where did I go to remove last row? Exactly. So under your remove row tab, you can come to remove bottom rows, and I can specify maybe row 12 or something. This is one approach you can go about doing this, right? Oh, sorry. If you want to use remove rows, you can do remove rows. You specify the rows to keep, right? How many rows to remove from the bottom? So you specify the number of rows you want to remove from the bottom. I can say 1. I want to remove 1. Ideally, I think I'll remove 2. The reason why I remove 2 is because we have totals. So totals are not really good in your data. Like I said, in your data, your reporting tool can already generate totals for you. So you don't really need it in your data. So you don't misinterpret or overstate the value. So you can get rid of the total. So that's one way you can do it. Remove bottom rows, and I did 2. Another way you can do it is to filter rows. For example, I can come here to filter rows. I know it's blank and this other row have problem. This other row have problem. And when I do that, I also filter the results. Then the moment I've done that, the next thing is I can take these 2 steps and I can just right click and on pivot columns, like you said, or I could have selected everything else and on pivoted other columns. So this is like in hello. Hello. Sorry about that. I think my my
we couldn't
network,
hear
right?
you for like the last 2 minutes. Okay, all right.
Yeah. So I could. So ideally, I should have probably removed that A, which I think somebody suggested earlier from this 2030 A. But if I'm to remove the A, right, how can I go about removing this? Let me see if there are people that will know how to solve my problem right now. How can I go about removing this A from this later? It's just like a recap. We already know these things. Don't worry, tomorrow we'll spend more time on Power Query. We'll spend more time. But I just want to test what we already know already in Power Query. Somebody said find and replace. Okay. Interesting. Replace values. Okay. Replace values, right? So I should do the bracket A, right? And I should replace it with what? Nothing, right? And let's see. Okay. So I have sharp people in the class, right? And that works. But if I'm not to use replace values, how can I also extract the information I need without using replace values? I've said it. I've said it. Okay. Use extract. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so with the extract tab under your transform, you can actually extract the information. The information where? Is it before the delimiter, first character, after the delimiter? Can do before the delimiter, and we can extract this particular piece of information from the website. Now, both ways, both approach work. So it's also important that we know that each approach works for its own specific use case scenario. But I want us to notice, and I don't know if we talked about this earlier, every single thing you do in Power Query is being recorded in this apply steps section, right? And who knows the language behind Power Query? What's the language behind Power Query? Any idea what? Okay, somebody said DAX. Well, not DAX. It's not DAX. Okay, so M language, exactly. So M language is the language behind Power Query. M language stands for mashup language and is the language behind Power Query. So everything we do on Power Query, it feels like click and click and click. But as you click on every single thing, you are generating codes at the back end, which are actually carrying out each of these specific tasks. And how to see the code? Let's take, for example, this section which we did here, which we changed this text to this. Can you see the code that was generated for us? This is the code that actually worked to do that transformation process. The same thing for these unpivoted columns, right? This is the code that helped us to unpivot those other columns. The same thing for these filtered rows. This is the code generated behind the scene that helped us to filter these rows. And if you want to see all the codes that have been generated for some reason, you can go to your view tab, your advanced editor, and under this advanced editor, you can see all the codes generated to you in your Power Query, for you in your Power Query. What this means is you can copy this and you can paste it in a blank query. If you've done this transformation before, you send it to your cousin somewhere, you send it to somebody somewhere. The person just needs to paste this in a blank query and they won't need to do the transformation process. They'll just paste it in a blank query and they'll be able to use it. Maybe I'll show that some other time as well. But that's just the general idea behind this. So the moment you have your data all well and good, you are fine with how your data is, you can close and apply, close and apply, close and apply. Remember, it's just what I've done so far is just like a recap of what we know in Power Query a bit. We may touch Power Query in more depth tomorrow, in tomorrow's session, but it's just having a nice recap and for us to see, oh, once we're done bringing in our data, how can we visualize our data? I'm sure that's what most of us are interested in, right? So the data will load, just take some time to load. And the moment it's done loading, so it's also good to know that when you're connecting to the website, especially when you're connecting to a website, you have to be online as well. Your network should be good, and you should avoid, you should ensure that those parameters are set. The moment you do that, I think you should be good to go. So it should take a little bit of time to load, but the moment it has loaded in, you can start building out your reports and your visualization with your data. Okay. I don't know if this is based on my laptop. I think this is slightly based on network and my laptop right now, but it should load from your end as well. It shouldn't really take any issue loading from your end. But that's basically okay, it's finally loading, creating connection in the model, then loading to the model. Loading to the model. Because we are connecting to an external source, that's why it takes a little bit more time. But the moment you've done this, you see your data here. This your data is here. And if you want to see the underlying data behind each of those fields, you can come to your table view and you can click on the table, for example, expand the column. You can see the data that you brought into your Power BI as well. And if you want to start doing a simple visualization, let's say this top 10 countries by population, I can drag, just like you do with pivot table, can drag the country here, and I can click on the population value. Yeah, I can drag it to my field. So this by
Hello, Joseph. Can you do a
default,
recap?
it
Your voice is
changes it to
breaking.
a bar
Hello?
chart. If I don't want to see it as a bar chart, right? I can either come to this build a visual tab here. If you don't have that, you can click on this drop down. You can see all the type of visualizations you have in your screen. Don't worry, we'll be doing visualization in more depth later, but you can. Hello, can you hear me now? Ursula, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Please, can you do a recap of what you've just done? Like you dragged the country to the preview page. Can you just do the recap so that we can follow you?
Okay. Okay, so it's quite simple. What I did, apologies, I think Nigeria is currently affecting me right now a little bit, but you can, yeah, you can drag your country to your visual tab. Just drag. The way you drag and drop into pivot table, that's kind of how you build your visual in Power BI. I can drag this as well too. I can check this as well. So by this, I've created a simple report of countries and population. Just something simple created in no time of countries and population based on the data that are loaded from that website. And the beauty of it is that you can automate this process. That website updates probably every single, maybe month, single week. You can create an automation. You can create an automation that allows your report to always refresh data based on that um, website, and that will be covered in Power BI service. We also cover that in the advanced class as well, on how you can automate your reporting as well. So this is just a simple way of how to get started building simple visualization with Power BI. From data from a website, we will cover, and I said Power BI has a whole lot of visual elements. There are a whole lot of chart types, a whole lot of, you can even bring in more chart types. We'll cover this as well later. You can bring in more chart types, but you also need to know specific elements of Power BI. What is DAX? What is data modeling? What different entities represent? And we'll be going into Power Query more in depth tomorrow session. Then we will also go into data modeling, DAX, data analysis, expression, visualization, and more interesting topic. So one thing I'm going to share with um, you guys today, because we thought about you guys, and we also prepared a way you can learn we can learn more with your knowledge in Power BI, and we've created a simple collection in Microsoft Learn, which we'll be sharing with you. This collection involves step-by-step guides on things you can know, things that will help you during your session. So the first thing like we did today was get started with Microsoft data analysis. We get started with Power BI. So I will advise everybody to like go through this session one, so probably today once the link is shared. We also have tasks that will be given to you during this session as well. We will cover prepared data analysis for Power BI as well, model data with Power BI. We also cover data modeling, DAX, and visualization as well during our session. I hope we've had a wonderful time so far today. I just want to say a reaction. Did we enjoy today's session? And are we looking forward more? Are we looking forward to more of these Power BI sessions? Okay.
Okay, just thank you
Okay.
for the wonderful session. It's time for attendance. So the link will be shared soon so that people will mark the attendance before the end of the class.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share to them. Remember, the end goal is we should be able to create something way better than this as well. Just this simple, nice, and interesting visualization. So just to whet our appetite, we are all going to learn how to create something nice and neat with Power BI as well. So please work on the attendance. I'll be taking questions, taking answers. Let's chat. We've had the session. Let's chat. Let's talk. What would you like to learn? Okay, somebody said Power BI for MacBook, please. So there's been a long-standing beef with Microsoft and Apple. I don't know if you've noticed it lately, but the good thing is there are ways around it. I think somebody has even shared this before on the Discord channel. So it's always good. We can check the Discord channel. There are videos on how to install, how to get Power BI on MacBooks. There are videos like that on YouTube. There are a whole lot of videos like that. You may need to install something we call a virtual machine. It is workable and it is doable because I've seen a whole lot of people install that as well. So you can just research on that, check videos on that. And AI, one thing that I want us to know, AI is your friend in the data space. Do not feel do not feel, oh, AI will not help you. AI will help your learning journey as well. So learning a new skill now in the tech world is very, very nice and easy with the aid of AI. And I'm even looking forward to building our own AI Learn guide for Power BI. I hope I get that done probably before tomorrow and share that with us. So we have our own AI, your own personal AI help desk with Power BI. So questions, answers.
Hello, Joseph. Are you there?
Mhm.
All right. Please, if you have any question, kindly raise your hand so that we can mute you and you can ask your question. Please use the link in the chat box to mark your attendance. Mark your attendance before the end of the class, please. Use the link in the chat box. Thank you very much.
Okay, so it's also important to know that we'll be having quizzes in subsequent session. So tomorrow's session, we have a quiz that is like a recap of what was done today. So I will advise us to also practice from our end. And we will also have a quiz based on what was done tomorrow as well. So let's look forward to that as well. Okay, so questions. So I'm hearing the link is not available. So please. Okay. I don't know. Hi, Financial. Are you? Yeah, can you help with the attendance link? I don't know if it's. Okay, just one moment. I mean. Okay, so while we're working on that, while we're working on getting that up, do we have questions? Questions? Just answer the questions. Do we have questions? No questions so far on what was taught. Please don't worry.
Hello, Kerabo. Hello. Can you unmute yourself, please, and ask your question?
Okay, which certificate? I can see one question right now. Which certification for data analyst do I recommend? Okay, so I actually have some whole lot of certifications, but I would advise at a confident level, when you get to a more confident level, you'd probably take the Power BI associate data analyst certification called the PL 300 certification. I advise that because it's more applicable in the sense of, oh, it's a job market. There are other certifications that don't really test your skills, but I think the Microsoft one, you have to take an exam, an actual certification exam to verify you actually know, what you're doing. Okay, so I can see. Okay, so let me check the eval. Okay, what about Tableau? Yeah, for Tableau people, there's actually the Tableau desktop specialist certification. I know a couple of people that have those certifications as well, if you're interested in verifying what you know in Tableau. So yes, you can definitely get that certification if you feel confident enough. Okay, so somebody said, which one is better, Tableau or Power BI? So that question is a nice question, but it's always, did I say it's always subjective based on who is answering the question. But let me just tell you the capabilities of both. Yeah, I can see no link for attendance. Sorry about that. We're currently working on trying to sort that out during the session. We're trying to work on how to sort that out. But let me answer your question. Tableau or Power BI. So both tools are actually useful and very good for data visualization. Power BI and Tableau, both tools are very, very good for data visualization and reporting. But to me, and I think according to Gartner report, Gartner is a world body that rates visualization too. Gartner Gartner ranked Power BI above Tableau. Gartner, they are the governing bodies which rates visualization, rates business intelligence tools. But it's important for you to note what can you do with those certain tools. So Tableau has a lot of rich data visualization ideas and reporting. So if you are more in data visualization, you'll probably like Tableau a lot. Power BI is more powerful in terms of agile business intelligence analysis based on my own opinion and experience, in the sense of, you can actually do a lot of more complex type of analysis. You can actually analyze data from a whole lot of different sources very, very easily with Power BI, and the learning curve to some extent may be slightly easier for Power BI as well than Tableau. But it's all subjective. Like I said, your answer, I can't give you a definite answer or an indefinite answer on which is better. It's which you feel you want to utilize. I can only tell you what both tools can do for you. Okay, so I can see Folonsho's hand is up. Hi, Folonsho, please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so I think you have already said everything about, there is no particular. I think a lot of people always get it confused that, should I go for Tableau or should I go for Power BI? It depends on, and another thing about them is you can actually learn both of them as well. You don't have to pick a favorite tools because it doesn't. I don't think there is any reason. If you want to learn Tableau, you can go ahead and learn Tableau. Nobody's going to hold you for that because you might have a job description that say that you must know Tableau, and maybe the job especially focus on Tableau, and there is no choice there. You don't have any choice other than learning Tableau. So you can learn any of those tools. They are very good. They are very powerful. Power BI is powerful. Tableau is powerful. There are some jobs there are some visualization, like Joseph said earlier. There are some things that, and there's something that on Tableau that you might not find it on Power BI, and there's something on Power BI that you might not find it on Tab. But you just have to stick. If you want to stick to one, you can stick to one. I'm very sure that I even like them. I think I like them because they are competitive. Power BI. There are some things on Tableau that Power BI does not have. In recent time, Power BI have see what Tableau can do. They are inputting it inside their own update. Tableau to feel like, there's something that Power BI to have they don't have. They also, it's like a competition now. So everybody is trying to improve their project as well. So in future times, you might even see that everything that Tableau is doing, Power BI everything that Power BI is doing, Tableau is also doing. So it's now left to you as a user to pick side or to pick whichever one you want to do. So, but there is no favorite. Just learn whatever you want to learn. There is no favorite. You can.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that addition, Podonsho. So I can see some other question in the chat. So if you want to be an analyst in the healthcare industry, business industry, education line. It depends on, okay, somebody was answering somebody's question. I don't know. Is it possible to bring in data from data sources that are not easily accessible by the public, e.g. a site where I need to put in password to access my data? Yes, like I stated, it is. The key thing is, does the website have an API? So how these tools connect to various sources is based on APIs. I don't know if we know or if we've heard of what APIs are. So I'm not going to the technicalities of it. It just allows the website and your application to talk to one another. That's what APIs does. If the website has an API, yes, Power BI probably can connect to it. And yes, it may require you to sign in. Like I showed earlier, I could have actually signed in to that site, but it's Wikipedia. You don't sign in to Wikipedia. If it were like my company SharePoint site, I may need to sign in to access the level of information which I need. Okay. If I later get more skilled in data analysis, which job role will I be applying to? Is it business analyst or data analyst general? I think I'll give this to Follow Show. I know a lot of people ask business analysis, data analysis, business intelligence analysis. Can you sum it up for us, Follow Show? I think there's a question you can come in place for this as well.
What's the question? What's the question again?
So somebody said, if you get more skilled in data analysis, so should they apply for business analysis, business intelligence analysis, data analysis? I know a lot of people ask the question, what's even the difference between these three job roles? Business intelligence analysis, data analysis, business analyst.
Well, the truth of the matter is, well, me, I prefer calling myself, or I prefer using the title business intelligence analyst rather than using data analyst. I think data analysis is too, I feel like it's too common. Though my job role is a data analyst, but what happened is that where I work, I use more than Power BI. So I feel like the title, if you are using Power BI, most of the time you tend to say that you're a data analyst. So, but when you have step up, you are using more than the Power BI. And if you are solving enterprise solution, if you are working for, let's say, organization like, let's say, bank, telecommunication, then you are not just a data analyst. Then I think you have stepped up to become like a business intelligence analyst. So far you are solving enterprise solution, then you are not just a common data analyst, using Power BI, because where I work, we use more than Power BI. We use SSAS, which is analysis service. Though analysis service now is like a on-prem stuff. If you are using Fabric now, I think they have incorporated SSAS inside Fabric. So if you are using advanced features like Fabric now, then you might tend to call yourself maybe like a Power BI business, like a Power BI senior analyst or consultant or business. But all these things are just the same thing. I will tell you, they are all the same thing, but it's just that when people advance a little bit, they tend to, call themselves something, like a senior analyst or a specialist or like a data analyst or business intelligence analyst. But the tools, one thing that doesn't change is the tools. The tools that you guys will use on the role is still the same thing. As a data analyst, business intelligence analyst, whatever you want to call it. Business analyst is not the same. Okay, I think there's a difference. Yes, there's a difference between business analyst and data analyst. So let me explain business analyst. A business analyst is not the same person as a data analyst. As a data analyst, you are expected to analyze data, gather data, give an insight, recommend, and all. But a business analyst person is a person that is an intermediate person between stakeholder and the data analyst. Now, where I work, we have a business analyst. So what the business analyst does for us is that when it comes to requirement gathering, if we want to do anything on our own job, daily to this, all the KPI metrics that we measure, we don't go directly to the stakeholders directly. it is the business analysts that go to the stakeholders, that gather information, everything that we need to do on the project that we want to do that has to do with technicality. It is the business analysts that gather the information for us and we will implement it. Now, in some cases, some organization doesn't have that large number of employees that they will have separate business analysts, they will have data analysts, they will have project manager. In some organization, you will be the one that will become the business analyst, you become data analyst, you will do everything together. But in an ideal organization, you will find that okay, you have a business analyst. And when it comes to requirement gathering, they are doing maybe something, the things that the stakeholder actually want. It is the business analyst to go and do that work for you, not the data analyst, because it's going to be cumbersome for you to be doing requirement gathering, doing documentation, and you will still be the same person that will go and start implementing again. It's a lot of work if you are working in a big organization. But if it is just a small organization, you might find yourself that you are the only one doing it. But now, as a data analyst, if you are using more advanced tools, like maybe Azure Synapse, you are using SSAS, Visual Studio, all those tabular model, that you can step up and call yourself a business intelligence analyst rather than just a normal data analyst. I don't know if that explains all those technologies. Joseph. Hello, Joseph, I'm done. I don't know if anybody can hear me. So, I don't know if you can hear me.
Hello, I can hear
I
you,
can hear.
Follow Show. Just yes, we can hear you. Thank you for your
Okay.
response.
Thank you for your response. Yeah, I can see a lot of talks about the attendance link. So unfortunately, we're trying to sort that out, but I think we'll come up with a working solution. I don't know. Hi, Abisola. Can you quickly share a link? So all those that have attended this session today, right?
Yes, I will share
You,
it now. I'm working on it. They should
yeah,
just
so
hold on a few minutes.
yeah, so you will get a proper link to actually for the attendance form
Yes.
while we sort the out. Yeah. So please hold on. I'll be taking questions. Sorry for the issues with the link, but questions. Can ask as much questions as you like right now. So is it possible to, okay, I think I've answered that. So please, if you have questions, you can raise your hand. Okay, so I can see somebody talking about the advanced class, right? So for the advanced class, I will advise you can drop a message to any of the admins in the Discord channel. We would talk more on that as well. So okay, let me scroll to see if I have other messages. So no question. Better have your question tomorrow. We have questions though. Okay. About certifications exams, are they free? So Microsoft certification exam, not only Microsoft, most certifying body, even Tableau as well, for you to take the exams, you have to pay a certain fee. Though there are certain events, certain occasion that they give out vouchers for free. I don't know if you follow. That's why it's always good to follow uh, people like the facilitators, for example, on our social media handles. So, for example, there are sometimes Microsoft give free vouchers to write certain exams. I may talk about it. I know Financial sometimes talks about it, and some other people may share that information. So yeah, you could probably get a voucher for free, but ideally the certification exams are not free. Okay, so how can we sign the attendance? So like I said, Abisola will just be sharing a link right now for us to just put in unnecessary details to complete the class. Hi Abisola, how you doing? Hi Abisola, sorry, how you doing?
Yes, I'm true. I will send the link now.
Okay, so please let's stay. Yeah, yes. So Busola, thank you for that. Okay. So please let's fill the link. Sorry for the delay. Just fill the link. So let's fill the link and have an amazing. So you may want to check the link you shared so that they're still requesting for access so that so you may want to check that link quickly.
Okay. Wow.
So make it everybody can answer. Just
Yeah,
make it.
yeah, I've clicked on that now.
Okay, so wait, I can do that now. Yeah, thank you for your time, thank you for your effort, and thank you once again for the amazing session. Sorry about the link. Um yeah, we had slight difficulties working on that, but thank you very much, Busola, for also taking your time. The session wouldn't have been successful without uh, our co-facilitator at the back end as well. Oh, somebody said your name. Wow. People don't know my name till now. Okay. I think that'll be first question tomorrow. Okay. My name is Joseph Fadero. Joseph Fadero, that's my name. Somebody said DJ. Okay. Okay. People that came for the party remember. Yes. Okay. So Joseph Fadero, that's my name. You can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Joseph Fadero. So let me type it as well. So, so yeah. Okay, so the class will be uploaded on the various handle as well as a when due. So we'll try our best to see how fast we can get that uploaded. Okay.
Okay, please do it to fill the attendance. We have over 30 responses right now. We still need